everybody, I'm here visiting my family in Puerto Rico, but I wanted to share with everybody a craft that's inspired by a traditional craft that's done here in Puerto Rico, which is basket weaving. So right here I have a traditional basket made here on the island, and as you can see, this basket, it has a line going up and it has lines going horizontally. The lines going up are called the warp, and the lines weaving in and out of the warp are called the weft. So this is going to be what we're going to be doing in this craft, but I'm going to make it so that you can do it right at home. So what you're going to need for this craft is a paper plate, or you can also use a piece of kind of stiffer paper or cardboard. You're going to need a cup that the base is kind of about between 3 inches and 2.5 inches or 2 inches, just about. You're going to need a ruler, a pencil, scissors, and some yarn. If you don't have yarn, you can use ribbon. You can use also, you can cut up an old t-shirt in long, thin strips. That works great as well. You can get creative, but I'm using some yarn. So here's an example of what it's going to look like when it's done. I used a multicolored yarn, which is really fun, but it's going to look great no matter what yarn or what materials you use. All right, now, so to start, we are going to do 2 circles. We're going to draw 1 circle in the middle and 1 circle on the outside. This is going to be the base and also the warp. Now, what it's going to look like once it's cut out, it's going to be kind of like a flower with 9 petals. It's important that you have 9 petals, or at least an odd number, so that the weave is continuous and it doesn't repeat itself at all. It'll be better to understand once we start weaving. So in order to get this flower shape, we're going to have to do some measuring. Now, this part is a little difficult, but if you want to do it on your own, that's so great. If you needed a little help, just ask a grown-up to help you. So let's get started. First, we're going to do the circle in the middle, which is going to be our base. So the circle is going to be about 3 inches, between 3 inches and 2 inches. My cup, the base of it, let's measure. It's about 2.5 inches. That's going to work okay. Now we're going to place it in the middle, and this part you can just kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it's pretty much in the middle. Okay, that looks okay. I'm going to hold it down, and I'm going to trace the bottom of the cup. Great. Now we're going to do another circle that's going to be about 6.5 inches, 6.5 to 7 inches. Again, it's okay if the math isn't perfect. It's more about having a base and 9 petals. So we're measuring the inside of this plate. It's going to be about 6 inches, 7 inches. That's perfect. I'm going to use the raised edges as kind of a stencil to guide my pencil. So let's go for it. Great. And now I'm going to cut out the outer circle. We're not going to cut the inner circle. That's just drawn on there so that we have something kind of like something to guide us later when we're measuring. So I'm going to cut. It's a little bit of a stiffer plate. It's a little harder to cut. If it's not a perfect smooth circle, that's fine. This is more about making the basket look pretty when it's woven, and you can also just trim the edges later. Oops. Okay, so here it is. Our next step is we're going to be doing the petals. Now, to do the petals, we are going to be measuring we are going to be making 9 triangles. So if we look at our end result of this, you see that there are 9 kind of negative spaces. Those are kind of triangle shapes. That's what we're going to be cutting out, and that's what we're going to be drawing. So each negative space here is about an inch. It might be a little more than an inch, a little less. That's okay, as long as you get the 9 petals at the end. All right, now to do that, we are going to measure 1 inch. And I've used this ruler for a lot of art projects, so it has a little bit of paint on it, but it still works great. So, where we see the 0 is where it's the outer edge of the ruler. The 1 is the 1 inch mark. So, I'm going to do 1 dot at the edge of the ruler, another dot where it has the 1 inch mark. Now we're going to find the middle point between the 0 and the 1, which is called the 1/2 inch, which is right here. It's a little bit of a longer line, and it's right in the middle. We're going to do a dot right there as well. Okay, next, to form our triangle, which we'll be later cutting out, we're going to do a line going down the middle from the middle dot to a point here in the outer edge of this circle that we had drawn. So I'm going to put my ruler here, make sure that it kind of is right in the center a little bit. We're going to draw the line here. Next, we're going to go to the outer edge dot, have it form kind of a triangle here, draw a line there, and then we're going to go to the other edge, find where it meets in the center here, and there we have a triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 9 more of those triangles all around. For the next triangle, you're going to measure from the outer edge of this triangle. We're going to measure about 1/2 inch, or about 1 1/4 inch, I'm sorry. So 1 1/4 inch is from 1, this is 1 inch, and 1/4 is 1/4 inch. It's 1/4 of an inch. Now on this ruler, you can see there are kind of these longer lines. That marks 1/4 inches. This part might be some kind of confusing. You can ask an adult, but if you already know how a ruler kind of works, you'll be fine. So 1 1/4, this is the quarter mark. You're going to do another dot there. From that dot, you're going to measure another inch to repeat what you did here. So, you hold it here. Remember, this is our 1 inch mark. You'll mark it here. Find the 1/2 inch. You'll mark it here. Then, you're going to do the triangle again. So, start with the middle line. Goes like this. Go to the outer edge over here. Like that. Go to the other outer edge over here. Just like this. And there you have your second triangle. Now they're not going to be completely perfectly even. That's okay. Again, just as long as we get the 9 petals at the end. Now once you're done drawing the 9 triangles, it's going to look a little something like this. So the drawn in triangles that I kind of shaded, that's what we're going to be cutting out. The ones that are blank, those are going to be our petals, which we'll be weaving in and out of with yarn later. So you're going to go ahead and cut these. So I cut my first triangle. Again, this part, if there's a little pencil left over, that's okay. You won't see it once you start weaving. In the next triangle, and you're going to keep cutting out these triangles until you cut them all out and it looks like this. So we have 9 petals. They're not perfectly even, but that's okay because it's still going to work great once we start weaving. Now this is my favorite part. This is the part where we get to weave. So, to begin, you're gonna take your yarn, or if you're using ribbon, that's great. If you're using an old t-shirt that you cut up for a DIY kind of recycled thing, that's awesome too. So, you're gonna kind of unspool a little bit of the yarn. And to begin, you're gonna want the warp, which are these petals, you're gonna want them to they're gonna start to ease their way up like this, so that it turns into kind of like a bowl shape like this. So to start, I like to just kind of tuck an edge of the yarn like this and hold it in place as I begin. Thanks, Mom. My mom is helping me out film this, and she's been a great help. So you're going this part, what you're gonna wanna do, okay, let's remember how a traditional basket is. You have the warp, which are these lines that they stay steady, and then you have the weft, which is gonna be our yarn, that goes over, under, over, under. So that's what we're gonna do here. So, you're holding this part here. It's gonna be on the outside. You're gonna go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, and now we're gonna start again, and the point where you started, that was the first over, you're gonna go under, and so forth. So you're gonna keep going over and under, and you wanna make sure that you don't skip any. So you don't want to go over twice and then under, because then it's not going to be consistent. It's not going to be a consistent pattern. You really want to pay attention and make sure that you're going over and under. While you're doing this, you're going to start to ease the petals or the warp up like this as you're going over and under. You want to be gentle with it too. This is going to take some time, but it really is so rewarding once you're done weaving to have something that you can use and it looks really pretty. And weaving is just such a beautiful thing that's done in so many different cultures. So here we're going over and under. Over, under. Sometimes I like to listen to some music while I do this, maybe a book on tape, and just really concentrate on the weaving. And we're gonna keep weaving, and I'm gonna finish this one, and then I'll show you how it looks when I'm done. Okay, so I'm almost done. As you can see, we went over and under until we got to the top. I left some space so that you can see the warp and the weft. If you want, with my other one, I push them all really close together so you don't really see the warp as much. It's just a different technique, whatever is your stylistic choice. So now that I'm at the end, we're gonna be cutting off this piece and tying it to one of the pieces inside. So, I'm gonna grab my scissors, which are in my basket, my other basket. I'm gonna cut off not too long, but not too short either. So this is pretty good. We can trim it again later. I'm gonna put my yarn in here. All right, now, you're going to tie a knot with one of the inside pieces. So you're gonna go under, just tie a little knot so that it stays in place. And it should be pretty secure. Now, you can trim this part, and then you don't really see it. And then the inside piece that we started with, we can go ahead and trim that too if we want. It's a very windy day. All right. Now, there are some edges that are kind of sticking up and maybe don't look perfectly uniform. If you want to keep it a little more uniform, you can go ahead and trim those. So this one's a little longer. You can go ahead and trim that one. It's a windy day. So you can go ahead and trim any that you want to have a little bit more of a uniform look. This is looking a little neater and a little more uniform already. That looks pretty good. I'm really happy with this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope everybody has a great day.